What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh, and welcome back to another Pokemon Sword and Shield VGC video. Players Cup 4 is next week, people. Next week, and unfortunately, it is still in the Series 8 rule set instead of the Series 9 rule set. So, I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about the restricted Pokemon, the top 5 restricted Pokemon that you are likely going to see if you are going to participate in these qualifying games, and some good counters for these particular Pokemon, because yeah, we still have restricted Pokemon in the format. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Series 8 really sucks. But if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more videos like this in the future. Let's get into it. So as I stated, I've collected the top 5 restricted Pokemon in the format right now. And I don't think it's to any surprise that Zacian and Kyogre are the first two on the Pikalytics chart. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. Yeah, Zacian Crowned and Kyogre are going to be the first two Pokemon that we are covering right now. First, we'll go over Zacian Crowned. So, what makes Zacian Crowned so good is its Intrepid Sword ability. When it comes onto the field, it gets the a times 1.5 attack buff right out the gate, and it makes it super strong. Plus, it gets things like Behemoth Blade that deals double damage to Dynamax Pokemon. It gets things like Sacred Sword, and it's just a very powerful Pokemon, especially with things running like Substitute. If you can get the Substitute off, it makes it a very hard Pokemon to handle in certain situations. It cannot Dynamax, that is its one drawback, but it has enough power that it really doesn't need to Dynamax, and it saves the Dynamax option for another viable member of your team. So it makes it really good. Like, Zacian can fit onto so many different teams that are in the metagame right now. You can pretty much throw a team together from Series 7 and then throw Zacian on as the 6th Pokemon, and boom, you have a fantastic team. Like, it's just a very versatile, very useful Pokemon to have. So again, the biggest issue that you're facing is that Intrepid Sword, where it comes out and it has its attack stage raised by 1. That's a really powerful Pokemon out the gate, especially with a base attack of 170 at level 50. Really strong Pokemon here. So things that are likely going to be used to counter this are going to be your Intimidators. You're going to have Incineroar. Incineroar is a great option simply because of the fact that it has not only Intimidate, but also it has Parting Shot. So if you can double up on that and you can hit it twice, you're going to do a lot of work to it with Parting Shot and Intimidate. However, the biggest thing right now with running Incineroar or other Intimidate users into Zacian are things like Thundurus. Thundurus with Defiant, you're going to beef up a Thundurus, it's going to become a problem. Or anything with Defiant or Competitive, you're going to have a problem come, rotating in your Intimidate Pokemon. So that's something you have to be aware of when going into these matchups, is if you have a Thundurus with a Zacian, or let's say an Articuno with Competitive, or a Galarian Zapdos, things like that that have either Competitive or Defiant, you're going to be beefing up that Pokemon by trying to intimidate Zacian. It's just, you have to think about that when going in. Other viable options are things like Arcanine. Arcanine's super useful in this situation simply because it also runs Intimidate, but you can use Will-O-Wisp on it, and that's going to be big hit on the damage ability of Zacian. And the thing about Will-O-Wisp is if you do get your burn off, even if they rotate, they can't get rid of that burn. So really important to note there with Will-O-Wisp, it's super useful against a Pokemon like Zacian. So Arcanine is another great option when going into a Zacian team. Other options, obviously, you got things like Landorus that have Intimidate, but sometimes it's just not going to be doable. Maybe if you're running a Trick Room team, Dusclops with a Will-O-Wisp on it could be super beneficial. Dusclops is a little sketchy to bring right now because of the popularity of Shadow Calyrex, but Dusclops is a viable option considering the Will-O-Wisp potential and weakening that Zacian. So that pretty much covers Zacian. You're going to just want to kind of have the ability to handle its Intrepid Sword, then using other Pokemon to take it out, or even using things like Incineroar or Arcanine to handle it with fire type moves like Flare Blitz. That is going to put in some significant work on Zacian. But overall, unless they're building it super bulky, it's not incredibly difficult to take out under the right circumstances. It's not super tough to take out. It's just a matter of surviving hits from it that is the biggest problem that you're facing. Now, like I said, Kyogre. super freaking common right now. Kyogre is unbelievably common because of the simply overpowered nature of Water Spout on Kyogre. It's just insane. Water Spout is incredible. Origin Pulse as well. This Pokemon does a lot of work, plus it's got good coverage with Thunder and Ice Beam. It's just a very powerful Pokemon, and Drizzle sets up a lot of rain teams. I personally use Kyogre this season with a Ludicolo. It's been a really fun team to use. But yeah, it's just a very powerful Pokemon right now to use. So there are definitely some counters right now that are out and super viable against Kyogre. Like, it's not an unbeatable Pokemon. It's just something you're going to see a ton. It's just very popular. So Kyogre here, commonly, like I said, Water Spout. The reason Water Spout is so good is because it has less power the less HP. So at full health, if you're outspeeding everything, you're going to be doing a ton of damage with Water Spout. It's just absurd the amount of damage you're going to do. And this is often run with, why can I not think of it? Tornadus, there it is, of course. Tornadus with Prankster, because then you could set your Tailwind very quickly, and you're going to be able to do lots of work because you will outspeed everything and be able to get your full health Water Spouts off. Super common. Now, yes, this is a very powerful Pokemon. However, there are counters to it. First off, it doesn't like Rillaboom. It just doesn't. The problem with Rillaboom, though, is that it does get countered by, if they do run Tornadus on the team, Hurricane, which is going to hit 100% of the time under rain conditions. So that is a slight concern. Also, if the Kyogre is running Ice Beam, it could cause problems if they decide to Dynamax and Max Hailstorm you. There's a couple things that could be worrying regarding a Rillaboom option. Next up is Lapras. Lapras is super good against a Kyogre team simply because of Water Absorb. Super good because you can basically absorb any of the possible damage coming off of a Water Spout, not have any problems. And if the Kyogre decides to run things like Thunder, and you know you're going to take a Thunderbolt, running a weakness policy on your Lapras is going to give you a insane buff to your damage, and you can actually do some serious work with Lapras if you run things like either Thunder or Thunderbolt, likely Thunder, or you know, you got Freeze Dry and Hydro Pump with Protect. This Pokemon is going to put in serious work if it takes a Thunder from Kyogre, and you're going to be able to, especially, you're going to want to Dynamax because then you'll survive the hit, no problem. You're going to activate your weakness policy, and you're going to basically steamroll through these two Pokemon right here, no problem at all. So Lapras is a fantastic counter to Kyogre. Another viable option here is going to be Regieleki. It's just very powerful, but the only downside to Regieleki is even if you have it max speed, it does lose the speed battle to a max speed Kyogre in a Tailwind setting. That's just the fact. Here, I have the damage calc to show it. In this situation, you are going to lose the speed battle. You got a 612 to a 548. You're going to lose the speed battle to your Kyogre if it's under a Tailwind setting. Take the Tailwind setting away, and you're going to outspeed it dramatically. So if you're able to stop the Tailwind from the Tornadus, you're going to be able to do a lot of work with the Regieleki. Or if you're potentially able to, you know, shut down a Water Spout in any way, shape, or form, you're going to do a lot of work in that regard. Things that could do that are things like Storm Drain, stuff like that. That could really help the cause. But yeah, things like Regieleki with Electro Web and things like that, you're going to be able to actually take out both of these Pokemon if you're able to avoid the Water Spout. So if you pair it with something that possibly has a taunt, you may have a lot of potential here to knock out both Pokemon turn 1 by taunting Tornadus and deactivating the Tailwind ability. That's going to allow Regieleki to just be faster than everything on the field and be able to sweep those two Pokemon turn 1. Another viable option with Regieleki is you could Dynamax off the bat. If you built it a little bulkier, you might be able to survive the Water Spout hit, and you're going to be able to actually knock out the Kyogre that way. But me personally, I think Lapras is just an overall better bring. I just think Lapras covers the option of both of these Pokemon more effectively than Regieleki, personally, just because of the fact that Regieleki is just not beefy. It has horrible defensive stats, so if you end up taking a Water Spout, it's going to hurt really bad, versus on Lapras, you aren't going to take any Water Spout damage. You're going to be able to survive the Thunder from Kyogre, and you're going to get a weakness policy activated off that. So for me, Lapras just does a whole lot more. Rillaboom, again, is super good with Grassy Glide, but it can take that Hurricane, so it can be very disastrous if Tornadus decides to just forego the Tailwind at all and go straight for a Hurricane. Now, Fake Out potential is there, so that is something to note. Fake Out is going to help you out a lot. Rillaboom Regieleki with Fake Out could potentially be very good, but again, you got to remember Ice Beam over here. It could go a number of ways. There is a lot of coverage between these two Pokemon. Next up, we got Calyrex Ice. Now, this Pokemon is a lot of fun. I haven't used it a whole lot this series, I don't know why, because I loved Glastrier so much and I ran it a lot in so many teams the last series, but I haven't used this thing a whole lot. But I can understand why it's such a powerful Pokemon. First off, it's just naturally bulky. It's bulky as hell. Okay, you got 252, 252, 4 is the normal spread on this thing. Because it's just so bulky, you really don't have to worry about much. Glacial Lance is the obvious choice in terms of the ice damage because it hits both Pokemon. High Horsepower is going to be really good on it. Trick Room is an option because it can set its own Trick Room. It's pretty nasty in the fact that it can set its own Trick Room under the right circumstances. And then some people are running it with Protect. Personally, I think Heavy Slam's more fun, and then you rock a Trick Room, or some people, Speed Swap is available on Calyrex Ice. So if you Speed Swap with a Calyrex Shadow, that Calyrex Shadow now becomes null and void. There's a lot of options there. So I think Speed Swap can be kind of interesting on Calyrex Ice, and it does make for some pretty creative teams. Things that are common: Weakness Policy, Life Orb, Assault Vest. Things that are going to either beef this Pokemon up a lot or give it even more bulk and just cause problems for you along the way. Now, it does have Focus Sash as one of its most used items because right now, with Calyrex Shadow and other things coming into the format, Urshifu is really good against this, Urshifu Dark. There are a couple other Pokemon that are actually fairly powerful against this. It's kind of interesting to see the Focus Sash bring on such a bulky Pokemon. I wouldn't recommend it, but anyways, for counters in regards to Calyrex Ice. Counters to Calyrex Ice right now, there's a lot, okay? Because it is just... its typing makes it weak to a lot of very popular Pokemon right now in the format. Moltres Galar is one that is going to be very powerful against this, especially if you're running it with a Weakness Pal, because people are going to be scared to hit this. Now, granted, Calyrex is super strong, so there is an opportunity for them to just knock out your Moltres and then be perfectly fine. But Moltres is a very valuable option because of its dark typing. It can do a ton of damage to the Calyrex Ice. Now, you do have to be wary of the weakness policy of potentially being ran on this Pokemon, but Moltres is a great option. But again, you do have that weakness to ice, so that is something you have to account for if you're going to be bringing a Moltres into that matchup. Another really popular one is the other version of Calyrex. Calyrex Shadow is super good against this just simply because of Astral Barrage. You're going to be doing so much damage. Its base special attack is absurd. So it's just a very, very powerful Pokemon right now. And being able to hit both Pokemon, not just one, and be super effective against the Calyrex Ice, it's a very powerful option bringing it into this matchup. Again, there can be some negatives to this. For example, if they do run Protect on Calyrex and they're running something that can set up Trick Room, your Calyrex Shadow isn't going to make it very long against the Calyrex Ice because you're just going to get outsped under the Trick Room setting, and it's just going to be a bad situation for you because this Pokemon is just so naturally fast. Other options, like I said earlier, Urshifu Dark is super good against this just because of Wicked Blow. Granted, you're not going to be doing as much as something like Calyrex Shadow because this Pokemon is very, very, very bulky in defensive stats. It's super bulky in defensive stats. However, Urshifu is going to do a ton of damage. So Urshifu is a great bring into this because of Wicked Blow. Another popular Pokemon that is coming up on the ladder right now is Umbreon, actually. Umbreon is, in my opinion, a very slept-on Pokemon. I've used it and dabbled with it quite a bit in the showdown setting, and it is very, very good against a lot of stuff in terms of, dark typing, and it's just very naturally bulky. If you take a look at its stats here, a 130 and a 150 at level 50 is very, very good, especially if you max out that HP. The reason this is so good against Calyrex Ice is because of Foul Play. Uses the target's attack stat in a damage calculation. So this Pokemon does a massive amount of damage by taking Calyrex's attack stat and using it against itself with a dark type move to do a ton of damage in a super effective manner. Super, super good. It also can get things like Yawn. It gets, Moonlight. It can heal itself. So this is a very, very valuable option, especially because it gets Inner Focus, so it can't be flinched. So super, super good bring into this particular setting. Really, really like this option. Then there's also the obvious stuff, you can bring like Incineroar to intimidate this Pokemon, but White Herb is actually becoming more and more common on this Pokemon to just avoid the Intimidate problem altogether. So that is something to note, but with Incineroar, you do still get Parting Shot, so that is super good. But normally, Calyrex is either going to be running, you know, high horsepower, or maybe it'll even run a close combat, and that is going to be very, very troublesome for Incineroar. So something to note in that regard, you could have very problematic outcomes if you do bring Incineroar into the Calyrex matchup. Just something to note there. Next up, Calyrex Shadow. This Pokemon is stupid strong. It's just so dumb strong in this format. Because of its speed stat is just absurd. It's out there how strong this Pokemon is and how fast it is at the same time. Just unbelievable. Plus, pairing it with Indeedee, getting the Psychic Surge up, and then being able to have the strongest expanding Force user in the format. Very, very powerful option. Very powerful option. It's normally running a lot of hyper offensive teams, so that's something you got to watch for. You know, normally you're going to see things like Whimsicott, Regieleki, things that are very fast and can handle themselves under Trick Room settings and going to be able to one-hit Pokemon. That's super common with Calyrex Shadow. Indeedee is pretty much always run with this because you get the option of doing the expanding force under the Psychic Surge settings. Very, very powerful. So, Focus Sash is very common because this Pokemon is not super bulky. It's very easy to one-shot. Life Orb is also common. Choice Specs is something I'm seeing a lot of lately. I've seen a lot of people using the Choice Specs because Choice Specs with the Indeedee Helping Hand, it does absurd amounts of damage. Like, it's not even fair the amount of damage that it does. And usually that's a late game scenario. You hold off on using Calyrex until the late game and you are able to pretty much sweep the rest of the team. It's just super, super viable. And it's something, like I said, I'm seeing a whole lot more of. So in terms of counters of this, like I said, you're going to have Indeedee. Indeedee is going to be there. There's pretty much a guarantee that if you're seeing a Shadow Calyrex on a team, then Indeedee is going to be there because Indeedee has Follow Me, it has Helping Hand. It's going to make this a very, very difficult Pokemon to take out. So these two are kind of a pain in regards to actually getting rid of Calyrex, because Indeedee can just keep you off of Calyrex as long as it needs to, and then you're going to be able to take things like Astral Barrages, you're going to be able to take Expanding Forces, stuff like that. Very, very detrimental if you can't get rid of Calyrex. So, things that you're going to be able to use effectively in this situation. Moltres is an excellent option. Because of the Fiery Wrath, you're going to hit both these Pokemon for super effective damage. You do have to survive, that's the only thing, but you don't really have a weakness to either of these Pokemon, so Moltres is a fantastic bring here. Fiery Wrath, if you're able to maybe get a Tailwind up or something and outspeed these two Pokemon, you're going to do a lot of damage. You're going to do a lot of damage, and if you have something like a Life Orb, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be in excellent shape to handle both of these Pokemon effectively, and then you'll be able to deal out some additional damage. And if you do take an Astral Barrage, you likely are going to get your Berserk up and be able to handle that the next turn. Other valuable options, again, Urshifu Dark. Urshifu Dark is super good here, simply because it handles both of these Pokemon. They can't protect and avoid it, so you go for things like Wicked Blow, you knock out Indeedee, problem solved. It's super valuable. Other options that I've seen, just from the strict aspect that these Pokemon are super likely to attack, well, at least Calyrex is very likely to attack, going for things like, you know, having a Cinderace with Sucker Punch, something that's very strong physically with Sucker Punch, can normally OHKO Calyrex in my experience. I'm using a very funky team right now, getting ready for Players Cup 4 qualifiers, and I have a Sucker Punch user on that team, and it does OHKO Calyrex pretty much every time. Unless it Dynamaxes, I hit it every time, and it's a very, very useful scenario. So Sucker Punch is super, super helpful in that regard. Also, if you Dynamax Max Darkness, it's going to do a lot as well. So something to note there. The only thing is if you Dynamax, you're losing the priority on Sucker Punch. So something to note there. But yeah, this is a really viable option. I've been using it a lot against my Calyrex Shadow matchups, and it's proved pretty successful. So I am not really that concerned about Calyrex Shadow in regards to the team I am using. Finally, the last Pokemon, restricted Pokemon anyway, that we are going to be talking about in regards to this current format and what you are likely going to see in Players Cup 4 qualifiers is Groudon. Groudon is super, super popular right now because of the drought ability that it has. It sets the sunlight for everything. It's just super good right now because of Venusaur, because of Charizard. Those Pokemon thrive in a Groudon team. So you're going to see a lot of Precipice Blades because you're going to hit both Pokemon with that. Rock Slide is also super common. However, Fire Punch, Swords Dance, Protect, those things are very common on Groudon as well. So Groudon is going to be a very, very heavy physical attacker. And it's honestly, it's not that difficult to handle. It's the Pokemon around it that are difficult to handle. That's the trick to Groudon teams. So like I said, because of the Drought ability, things like Venusaur are going to be absurdly good because of Chlorophyll. You're going to be having Venusaurs throwing sleep powders everywhere. You're going to have Charizards running around throwing their solar power abilities everywhere. It's just, this is a very, very powerful lineup right here alone, and it's all off of the Drought ability. Now, yes, Groudon is a very strong Pokemon in its own right with things like Precipice Blades that are going to hit adjacent foes. However, it is very slim chance of, well, it's an 85% chance, so you do miss a lot. That is going to make it very, very sketchy if Groudon lands some hits, but you know, things like Sword Dance can also make Groudon itself even more dangerous. But yeah, mainly it's the Drought ability that is making this Pokemon super, super good. So things to like change that aspect up is simply either getting a water type Dynamax Pokemon out on the field using Max Geyser and then changing the weather condition, or having a rain team is also very popular against this. The only thing is to note with weather, the slower Pokemon gets their weather effect set. So you need to make sure you're slower than Groudon. You need to be slower than a base 90 speed. So in that regard, Politoed is going to be very good against this because you can set Drizzle and get rid of the Drought. That's going to weaken Venusaur. It's not going to get the double speed. It's not going to give Charizard the bonus damage. Politoed teams are going to be very helpful. However, Politoed just isn't the most common Drizzle user right now because of Kyogre. Now, if I pull up Kyogre's the same base speed. So unless, you know, it's going to be a toss-up every game, depending on what you do. It's going to be a toss-up. So you need to be careful if you're going to bring your Kyogre into this, that you want to be slower than the Groudon, because if not, the Groudon's going to cancel out your Drizzle, and it's not going to do anything for you. So it's something to definitely note. However, you can bring Kyogre in your backline and manage to rotate it in, and that way you get your Drizzle off, and you're going to slow these Pokemon down or weaken these Pokemon. So that's another viable option. Other things that are super powerful against Groudon. Calyrex Ice or Glastrier is very good against it, just because of the fact that it's weak to ice types. Also, these Pokemon do get Leaf Storm now, so Leaf Storm is actually really good. If you're running a weird set on Calyrex, you can do Leaf Storm in a Groudon and handle that as well. And this is also pretty strong against Venusaur as well. So if they're not running a Charizard, Calyrex might be a good bring into these kind of situations. Also, other good brings. Lapras. Lapras kills it into a Kyogre matchup because of its Hydro Pump as well as its Freeze Dry. You got two moves that handle both Venusaur as well as Groudon. The only thing is, Venusaur can hit you really hard. That's just something you have to be aware of, something you have to worry about, is Venusaur can hit Lapras extremely hard. The other thing is, Charizard is very weak to this as well. So, depending on what they have in their particular Groudon team, is something that you will consider bringing a Lapras to. And because Lapras is so good against other things like Kyogre and stuff like that, it's worth having a Lapras on the team. It's just, that's the way it is. Lapras is so good against a lot of the different restricted Pokemon, and because of the fact that you can Dynamax it, G-Max it, excuse me, and set up your screens that way, super, super beneficial Pokemon to have in your roster. But that is pretty much it. That is the top 5 restricted Pokemon that you are likely going to encounter going into Players' Cup 4 qualifiers. Now, there are other Pokemon that are, you know, semi-popular, and you'll probably run into, like Xerneas. Use a Steel-type Pokemon, taunt it so it can't use whatever it is that buffs it. I can't remember the name of the move at this time, but everybody knows what I'm talking about if you play VGC. Also, Yveltal super common, Solgaleo super common, things like that definitely are going to be there, but these are the most likely candidates that you are going to see as people's restricted Pokemon on their teams come this tournament. But like I said, that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you found the video entertaining and helpful. If you did, be sure you leave a like and smash the subscribe button for more VGC, Pokemon, and Monster Hunter style content in the future. Be sure to check out the Discord where people over there playing Pokemon all the time, and check me out over on Twitch, Discord, and all those other social medias if you're interested in keeping up with me, the channel, the stream, or anything like that. Like I said, that is it for this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.